we've been picking on Verizon and we've been picking on Comcast and Time Warner, but we haven't been picking on AT&T at all. And James Ciccone just gave us a very good reason to pick on AT&T. So Wendell, are you ready to tear apart this ridiculous blog on AT&T's website?
Yes.
So first off, let's lay down where this started. It started with Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix, and he wrote a beautiful letter. Wendell, I think he read, or I'm not read, I think he saw our video because he echoes you. He even says that the ISPs are playing a game of chicken. He shows how the service over the last few years and actually the last few months has been deteriorating, and people are not getting what they paid for. And he's saying that the ISPs are refusing to upgrade, and so Netflix is forced to pay some of these things. He said that they want to stand with us and they want to stand strong, but they also want to improve the performance. But he thinks they're doing the wrong thing in giving any of the ISPs any money to upgrade their infrastructure.
The typical person, think about your mom and dad or your grandparents or whatever, they don't necessarily know. It's like, well, the internet works, but Netflix doesn't work. That's probably a Netflix problem. I don't want to give them my $7 a month or whatever. But pragmatically, it's like, we got to fix this. And so just write a check, make it go away, and we'll sort it out later. I could see that. I could see that as a valid business move because people don't know. But what we're wanting to do is educate you so you guys know.
Here is the response from Jim Ciccone. And I believe I said that right, Ciccone. I believe that's how you say it. It's an Italian last name. Who is James Ciccone? I keep saying James Ciccone is the Senior Executive Vice President, External and Legislative Affairs, AT&T Incorporated, and Justice for All. That's a hell of a title, but that's who he is. Anyway, he wrote a response to Reed Hastings' blog, and it's titled, Who Should Pay for Netflix? While I was reading this article, it was almost like Jim. He totally forgot that there is anybody out there paying for the internet. It's like, he's just like, who's going to pay for this? Who's going to pay for this bandwidth? And then he sees Netflix, they come along and they eat up a lot of bandwidth. And he's like, well, Netflix and the customers who are using Netflix are the ones who are going to have to pay for that.
Let's come back a second here. Okay, AT&T Uverse, if you go on their website and you look at their terms of service, it's a certain bandwidth speed. So, you get 3 meg, 6 meg, 24 meg, whatever. That's a speed of how fast you can get stuff. But they've also got data caps. So just like your cell phone, you've got the 5 gigabyte plan. AT&T has the 150 gigabyte plan or the 200 gigabyte plan. So data's data, isn't it? It doesn't matter where it comes from. If you take Netflix out of the equation, they're saying you can get 250 gigabytes of data per month. And so if these people run over their thing, AT&T is going to charge them. So wouldn't that subsidize the cost of those infrastructure upgrades?
It sounds like they don't want to spend any of their profit on upgrading. That's what it sounds like. It says like, well, you know what? We're making a lot of money and we don't really care about upgrading the service to Netflix. And why should we spend all the money that we're getting from our customers on that? And to be fair, they are spending $14 billion. They announced that they're spending $14 billion on upgrades, and that includes wireless. That's not just wired to the home. That's mostly wired, wireless, as a matter of fact. They're doing the LTE, the 4G LTE, and that has data bandwidth caps and costs a fortune. And then they're doing this thing where they go and they put an antenna on your house, and you get LTE, 4G LTE to your house. So it's like the same thing you get on your phone, but now there's an antenna on your house. And what that allows them to do is that allows them to save a ton of money on actually laying lines down. You really need lines to get the best service. And it also allows them to govern it just the way they would govern a cell phone with ridiculous data bandwidth caps. So it sounds like they're really taking that $14 billion that they're spending on infrastructure and upgrades and using it to screw their customers and put them in a little box. And it's the companies like this that are really getting in the way of the world moving forward. So they've given you a limit on the speed, and they've given you a limit as far as the bandwidth goes, how much you can use every month before you're cut off or before they cut you down to almost nothing. They're complaining that you're using it. And let's just completely remove Netflix from the occasion, because that's a red herring and that's a focal point that they love to drive home because everyone's using it. But the bottom line here is they're angry that you're actually using what they've given you. And they can't even deliver what they've set aside to give you because they've oversold it so much, and they refuse to upgrade even with all the profits. It makes absolutely no sense. And this brings me right back to the part in the letter here that really shows that Jim Ciccone really does not understand what is happening here. When Netflix delivered its movies by mail, the cost of delivery was included in the price the consumer paid. It would have been neither right nor legal for Netflix to demand a customer's neighbors to pay the cost of delivering his movie. So, and then he says, yet that's effectively what Mr. Hastings is demanding here, and in a rather self-righteous fashion. Let's fix this analogy. because back then, you paid for your thing and Netflix put a stamp on there and someone paid the post office to bring that to your house. When you get something through Netflix, that's a transaction with Netflix. You've ordered the service. You are already paying the postage because you're paying a monthly fee to AT&T for them to deliver freaking packets to your house, and they can't even deliver it. That's like the UPS showing up at your house with a package that already has postage on it that your friend sent you from somewhere else, whatever, and the UPS guy knocks on your door and then says, listen, here's a package for you, but you cannot have this package until you give me some gas money. You're like, what? Well, that's nonsense. Someone already paid the postage. He's like, yeah, somebody paid the postage, but I really want some gas money, so I'm not going to give you the package. That's exactly what Jim Ciccone is saying. The analogy makes no sense, dude. I would love to sit down and talk to you about this because I think that you actually believe this stuff, and I'm not sure if you're just trying to fool a bunch of idiots out there into giving up even more of their rights on the internet and giving up, even more money so that you guys can still not make upgrades and not, comply with the 1996 Telecommunications Act. It's not about Netflix. It's about them not being able to deliver what you are already paying for, and then they're complaining, even though they made $30 billion in profit last year. They're only spending $14 billion on upgrades, and most of those upgrades are to screw you anyway. So, yeah, rant over. What do you think? That did it?
So let's give you guys some talking points. It's like the argument sounds completely reasonable. 30% of network traffic on the internet is Netflix during prime time, and that's we need help upgrading our infrastructure, and we need to pay for that and all this kind of stuff. Well, it's not really Netflix that's generating the traffic. It's customers of the ISP. You see, Netflix is not just shoveling their data everywhere on the internet that it will go. Customers have to request it. And so when someone says, well, Netflix should be responsible because they generate 30% of the traffic on the internet, it's like, no, Netflix has a successful application. Suppose for a moment, if you will, that Netflix implemented a peer-to-peer system. Popcorn
We're talking
Time.
about that, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about Popcorn Time, which is an app that lets you watch pirated movies in a peer-to-peer kind of a way. It is Netflix for pirated movies. It is dead easy. I saw a demonstration of it, and I was blown away because you could literally click a movie, it would buffer for like 30 seconds, and then you were watching the movie, and I have no idea what was going on underneath, but oh my God, consumers want that. If Netflix implemented a peer-to-peer system, ISPs would have zero control over this. Because Netflix is centralized, it makes them a really easy target because ISP customers are requesting traffic. Here's the dangerous precedent it sets. So let's suppose in a future where you don't have one monolithic application like Netflix, you've got hundreds or thousands of applications. If we let ISPs get away with this nonsensical reasoning, if we allow this lie to perpetuate, then those hundreds or thousands of small programs that saturate the internet, no one will ever upgrade for them. No one will ever upgrade their infrastructure. It'll be a bad experience. VoIP won't work. Things like Skype, the next Skype that comes from two guys in a garage, it'll never happen because they won't have the clout and the negotiation capability to pay the ISP's ransom. ISP's customers are what are requesting and using the service that they've paid for. This monthly fee that people pay is not a toll to get on the internet. It is a toll to get on the internet and transfer data. And AT&T has a set amount of data that they've set for various plans, 150 gigabytes, 200 gigabytes, whatever that number is. That is the amount of data that you've purchased. It'd be like a cell phone provider with your 5 gig plan saying, well, you're using close to this 5 gigs that you're paying for. I don't think I want to give it to you. I think you should only get 3 gigs or 2 gigs or 1 gig.
Yeah, if AT&T really wanted to do something here, what they should do is take all their plans and just change them around to make them exactly what they're comfortable giving. So if someone's got a 50 megabyte plan, maybe they should call them up and be like, listen, you're no longer going to get 50, you're going to get 10 because that's all we can really comfortably give you, and we really don't want to upgrade our service. That's exactly what they should do, or they should shut up and upgrade their service and spend some of that ridiculous profit that they're accruing. What are they trying to do with all that money? Just give it to their
buy other
CEO?
Things, basically be anti-competitive.
Here's another way that these guys are lying. All the ISPs, they say that they want Netflix to pay for the infrastructure costs and that sort of thing. And traditionally, when you work out a business plan like that, or when you have a proposition like that, you have a company come in and they give some money and you guys upgrade things together and everyone's working together and then you share the benefits. However, Netflix has to fit the bill. And then, as Reed Hastings said in his blog, he's like, but even if we pay for the upgrades in infrastructure and more people adopt and more people are able to use and Comcast starts making more money, therefore we don't get any of the benefit. We don't get any of the profits. There's no sharing. So it's not a partnership. It's one-sided. They're forcing Netflix to pay for an upgrade they should be making, and then they're going to make more money because more people are going to use it and pay more money to the ISP.
And so even if Netflix pays for the infrastructure upgrades to help support that, they don't get any percentage or any profit at all because it's not a partnership. That's not what Comcast is selling. Comcast is wanting to sell access both ways. And that's how you know it's a sham.
I know a lot of us out there are doing everything from streaming videos to Twitch and playing games on the internet, but a lot of just the regular people out there, when they're using, just browsing the web and answering their emails, they don't need 50 or 100 megabytes per second or anything like that, or megabits per second. They upgrade it for Netflix. So Netflix is driving people to give Comcast and AT&T and Verizon and all that. They're driving people to give those ISPs more money.
Now,
so it should be a partnership.
One other popular argument is that bandwidth is a finite resource, but that's not really true. And the answer to back that up is sort of complicated. But when you've got a large ISP like Cogent and a large ISP like Cogent or Level 3, and you've got ISPs like AT&T or Comcast, they pay for port. So what that literally means is a port on an Ethernet switch, so 100 meg or a gig or whatever, and that is what you pay for. And at the ISP level, when you've got a large ISP doing infrastructure with another large ISP, that is not usage based, that is port based, and that is in terms of capacity. And that means they are paying for that capacity whether or not they use it. And that is key here, because they're charging you based on usage. But when you move up into the multi-gigabit, I've got 420 gigabits or 1,000 gigabits or whatever of backbone capacity, you're paying for the number of interconnects that you have. And that is what Comcast and Cogent couldn't come to terms on, and they just allowed the ports to fill up. So artificially, they have created this situation by refusing to upgrade their network on either side.
Take this information and take it to the people that you know, and take it to the people who are not going to watch this video or even share this video. I know it's going to be a little bit possibly over some people's heads, but hopefully not. Hopefully they'll understand just the basic thing. And I think for me, the bottom line here is that Jim Ciccone really thinks or seems to think or wants you to think that delivering packets over the internet is the same as physically driving a truck to your house with a DVD in a slip. It's not the same thing. And even if it were the same thing, we are paying for that postage by, subscribing to their service. We're paying for it already.
Data is data, and AT&T has a history of not playing fair. And I'll give you a really good example that's kind of a side note. Remember FaceTime when it first came out from Apple? If you were on AT&T and you were in an unlimited data plan, you couldn't use FaceTime on your devices. Now, if data is data, why wouldn't they let you use FaceTime? They said, well, FaceTime uses a lot of bandwidth, and even though it's unlimited, we don't really want you to be able to do unlimited things with your data. And so now, by and large, unlimited is not even an option in the wireless world. They want to treat the wired world like the wireless world. But the whole point of wired, why wired is so much better than wireless, is because you've got orders of magnitude more bandwidth. It is not a scarce resource, at least not in a traditional sense, at least not in the sense that you can fathom. And that some people are accepting the lie that it is a finite resource is deeply troubling, and that must be fought, because if that enters the public mindset, then that is going to be worse off for us as a society. These guys are smart. They see the 10-year plan, or the 10-year thing, how this is going to unfold in 10 years, is they're going to be completely marginalized. Providing infrastructure is very important, but just like electricity and water, providing bandwidth to the internet is going to become a very low margin, basically public infrastructure in 10, 20 years. And these guys know that. And so they are doing everything they can to get as much profit as soon as possible. We're going to have a la carte cable television. We're going to have a la carte voice services. And it is absolutely going to destroy the telecommunications industry's profits. These guys know that. That's their agenda. And we need to shine the light on that, because otherwise it's going to be very bad for us as a society in the future, because they will hold the internet hostage and they will sort of squelch innovation.
So Jim, listen to me. If you want help right now, I know you guys are making a ton of money. I know your profits are really high. However, we're going to take the internet back. And if you want to get on the right side of that, feel free to send us an email, info, or what we should do, inbox. Yeah, let's do inbox. Inbox@techsyndicate.com. Just drop us an email and we will consult with you and help make AT&T a better company. One last thing, it's a good time to pitch the VPN. One thing you can do right now is use a VPN. And so far, the success rate on that, you guys can go to the forum and ask questions about that. But almost everyone who is started using the VPN has experienced a big time speed up in Netflix and a big time speed up in YouTube. It just bypasses a lot of the routes, and it can get you online and also keeps them from prying into your private data. So please use a VPN, and there's links for that as well. And that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I mean, how crazy is it? We've got a CEO that's mad at their customers for using the service they sold them. I mean, it doesn't even. It's like, I'm sorry, you're limiting. I just want to use the service you sold me. No, I'm sorry, you can't do that.
That's exactly what's happening right now. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you guys next time.